This is the worldtomorrow.org, broadcasting worldwide from the Obedient Church of God over the internet.
I can tell by your eyes that you've probably been crying forever.
Yes, Father has been crying for 6,000 years because all the leaders, all the ministers are so disobedient.
Don't mean nothing to you, they're a mirror.
Stars in the sky, Genesis 1:14. The ministers can't even get the first book of the Bible right. Lights will mark days, not averaging calendars, not international date lines.
How you broke my heart. If I stayed here just a little bit longer, if I stayed here, won't you listen to God's heart? God's heart. If I stand all alone,
Yes, the Obedient Church is standing all alone. It's the only congregation in the whole world that doesn't move God's Sabbath day to Friday in half the world by a phony satanic international dateline of 1883. God's word means nothing to you. It's just a mirror. Learn to follow your Bible. Sabbath day is the 10th commandment, whether or not you have the mark of the beast. How you broke God's heart. But if I stay here just a little bit longer, if I stay here, won't you listen to God's heart? Won't you listen to God's way of life? He's been pleading with you for 6,000 years, generation after generation. And still, no one obeys, except now, the final end-time work of the Obedient Church of God. Yes, this is the only congregation in the whole world that's identical to the first century. We are the Romans 9:28 work, proven by the facts. Go to our site, theworldtomorrow.org, and you will see the facts. That magnificent saxophone ushers in the broadcast. Bonjour, Paris, France. It's evening in Paris now. Late afternoon on the West Coast. And it's early evening on the East Coast. Welcome to the Obedient Church. How we are restoring God's heart.
if I stay here just a little bit longer, if I stay here, won't you listen to God's heart?
Yes, indeed. Why wouldn't you listen to God's way of life? You want eternal life? You've got to learn to fit into the family. It isn't just happenstance. It isn't just saying that I believe in Jesus Christ. The devils believe in Jesus Christ. They won't be saved. They'll be thrown in the lake of fire. You have got to learn to live by every jot and tittle of this book. You're saved by grace through faith, and that's not of yourself. But he who doesn't obey will be thrown in the lake of fire. Salvation is a free gift, but not to be abused by disobedient, self-centered brats and lying ministers. You know, your ministers are trying to rob God of his authority and God's influence. This Bible tells you that the Sabbath day is the seventh day of the Lord your God. The seventh day. Every congregation moves it in half of the world to the sixth day, to Friday. And they started doing that in 1883 with a phony international dateline that if any of the denominations had any common sense, they would not change the day to Friday in the other half of the world. Because you fly out of LAX, Los Angeles International Airport, and poof, the day jumps on the way to Australia. Fly back from Australia, back to LAX, poof, the day jumps back again. No, it doesn't. You wait for the sun to go down. So here we've got the situation of every congregation in the world moving God's Sabbath day to Friday, just like the poop moves God's Sabbath day to Sunday. And the Sabbath day is the test commandment. It's clearly stated in your Bible. If you just look in your Bible, blow the dust off it, as Mr. Armstrong used to say, you'll see that the Sabbath is a sign in Exodus 31:17. Exodus 31 verse 17, the Sabbath is a sign. Then you go to Ezekiel 20:20, Sabbaths are a sign between God and man. Ezekiel 20:12, Sabbaths are a sign between God and man. Isaiah 8:16, seal up the law in my disciples. And you are one of God's disciples if, John 8:31, if, not automatically. John 8:31 clearly states, ... if you abide in my word, you are my disciples indeed. Do you know what this word says? This word, which is called the Septuagint, which was Jesus' Bible, and that's what Jesus said, is that you shall live by every word of God. And when the young ruler, young man, rich man asked Jesus, Jesus says, you know what's in the scriptures? And which scriptures was Jesus referring to? The Septuagint, which is the Old Testament. But Jesus didn't do away with the Old Testament. He didn't do away with God's law, because every nation needs laws or you'd have total chaos. You'd stop the laws in New York City with a blackout, and in 10 minutes you've got rape, robbery, and pillage throughout the whole community, because the laws are done away with. It's dark. People can steal, rob, rape, loot, murder. Well, Yeshua brought more law, because he, Yeshua, HaMashiach, our Lord and our King, said that if you even think of having sex with your neighbor's wife, if you even think about it, you're guilty. He enlarged the law. He made it bigger. He brought more of it, bigger. Magnified it. What do you do when you magnify something? You make it bigger, 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 bigger. Because the law is the perfect way to live. It sets out the priorities. You know, are you going to side with Satan, or are you going to side with the Bible? Are you going to side with your minister who doesn't obey the Bible? Today is New Month Day. Ezekiel 46:3 states, "You shall worship on New Month Day." Today being the 21st of February, it's Adar 1, it's the 12th month. The 12th month, because the crescent moon was sighted last night. And Shabbat 30th was last night. And now it is Adar 1. You've got to realize that God stated in Genesis 1:14, lights will mark days, and that's for times and for seasons. And if you don't want to obey your Bible and say, no, I'm going to have an averaging calendar, and don't accept any of those lies that Jesus used an averaging calendar. He did not. That's a damn lie. Because when the Jews didn't know the correct date, because it was overcast on the 29th and they had to wait, they celebrated 2 days. 2 days. So they made sure they didn't miss it. They didn't use an averaging calendar in the 1st century or in the Second Temple. And any minister who tells you that is a liar. And he'll try to hang on to his lies. But you can look it up and find out that Jews celebrated 2 days. And some of the Jews still to this day celebrate 2 days, the ultra-Orthodox. Well, welcome to the Obedient Church of God. TheWorldTomorrow.org, because God gives us the inspiration about the international dateline and gave us the inspiration about New Month Day, where your Bible clearly states, Ezekiel 46:3, you shall worship on New Month Day. And in Zechariah 8, verse 19, you get the 4 fasts of the Lord, the 4 fasts of the Lord. You know when to fast. And you've got Passover coming up. And it will be, depending on the sighting of the crescent, it will be April 3rd, or perhaps April the 4th. That's important for you to know, because the days of unleavened bread will be starting right after the Passover. Now, to prepare you for this, the Passover is not the Lord's dinner. Those are 2 distinct separate events. 2 distinct separate events. The first one was the Lord's dinner on Nisan 12. And that's where he said, do this in remembrance of me. Do this in remembrance of me. Now he took the place of the Passover lamb, so obviously he did not celebrate the Passover. And any minister that tries to tell you that is another lying devil, because you can't be dead and then celebrate the Passover. You can't be in the tomb and celebrate the Passover. So therefore, we celebrate the Passover just the way the 1st century Christians celebrated the Passover. Exactly the same on the night of the 14th. So we have 2 days. We have one of the last dinner where we remember Yeshua and we do the foot washing as Yeshua did, and it's a leisurely dinner on the 12th of Nisan. Takes all night if you want it. That's what Yeshua had before he went to the Garden of Gethsemane. Before he was arrested that night, he had this magnificent long dinner, and you'll see the, Van Gogh's picture of the Last Supper, and you'll see Judas in the picture, and even if you look closely at the picture like I did, you'll see that Judas is knocking over the salt shaker. He's knocking over the salt shaker. Well, we'll tell you more about that if there's time, and why you throw salt over your left shoulder. Well, that's just a worldly tradition, but we'll explain it to you, because if you're going to see a picture of the Last Supper, look for that salt shaker that Judas is knocked over. It's in the picture. You'll see a lot of other things if we have time to tell you. We've got a dynamite service for you today. We are going to tell you something that you've never heard before. We're going to tell you about a non-human species, that is the power behind the throne that's running the world. We'll tell you about Homo, second word, capensis, C-A-P-E-N-S-I-S. And these critters are not fallen angels. These are the offspring of the fallen angels, as in the Nephilim, and they die. They die. They might live 300 or 900 years, but they die. Now we'll tell you about them. They've got large skulls, elongated skulls. That's why the poop has his giant mitre for a hat to cover up the elongated skulls. And that's why the pharaohs also had the head garb that was huge. And we'll show you pictures of that. We'll explain to you Boss Cop Man, B-O-S-C-O-P. And these are the offspring of the species that really run the earth. That run the systems of the earth. There's a great demon, Prince of Persia, that runs Iran. That's why Iran has survived this long, because it's a very, very, very powerful demon, which is the Prince of Persia running Iran. And there are all types of demons running different sections of the different countries of the world, and we'll tell you about that. But remember I said Homo capensis. We'll also tell you about the USA's Treaty of Tripoli. See, the USA was not founded on the Christian religion. It was founded in a mannerism that you can have any religion that you wanted, including the Illuminati religion. The satanic religion was never a Christian religion. That was the amendments. So we'll tell you about the different years of the amendments, because this is what you're going to have to deal with the mark of the beast. And we'll tell you, well, we got a sparkler here from Mozelia Welling regarding the supermoon in the sky tomorrow night, Thursday and Friday. Got this from her on Thursday, and it was Thursday and Friday night. There's a supermoon in the sky. That's important. And just to help you understand, it's a new moon. And let's call it what it is. It's a black moon, so you can understand. So the February extra close, writes Ozelia Welling, the February extra close, I'll say black moon, will accentuate the spring tide, giving rise to what's called a perigean spring tide. P-E-R-I-G-E-A-N. The black moon is between the earth and the sun. That's why you can't see it, and that's why it's black, because it's between the earth and the sun, so it's not lit. And she writes, high tides climb especially high, and on the same day low tides plunge especially low. See, the black moon elevates or lessens the tides. It accentuates it both ways. We'll tell you more about that, how they line up. That's important. And we got to tell you about the Passover days, very important. And the spring equinox is March the 20th, as most of you know. That's the first day of spring. And it looks, well, it doesn't look, I did the calculations, and it works out that Adar 1, we are now in Adar 1, ends on March the 23rd, and the spring equinox is March the 20th, so therefore there won't be an Adar 2 unless the grain isn't found. If the grain isn't Aviv, okay, the grain has to have kernels that can be roasted. We'll tell you more about that as time permits also, because we've got so many things to tell you about. It's amazing all the information we have. You know, we've got John started his ministry. John the Baptist started his ministry in 29 AD. Just hitting the highlights so you know what's in the broadcast. And therefore, Yeshua, his ministry, started after John's ministry. And we know John's ministry started in 29 AD because I back it up with facts. Because the 15th year of Tiberius Caesar would correspond to 29 AD. And we read in the Gospel of Luke chapter 3, verse 1, John the Baptist began his ministry in the 15th year of Tiberius. And Tiberius became the emperor after August died. Well, it's Augustus died, ironically, in August. I guess that's possibly, you could have named him after him. Augustus died, is just the point. Augustus died in August of AD 14. So if you add 15 years, because the Bible says in Luke 3 verse 1, the 15th year of Tiberius Caesar, it's recorded that John the Baptist began his ministry in the 15th year of Tiberius Caesar. Therefore, Yeshua would have started his ministry after that. And we can go back and date everything for you if there's time, because we have so much information. We're going to try to focus on the information about Deuteronomy 16:16. 3 times a year, all the men are commanded to go to headquarters. And remember, Yeshua's parents traveled to headquarters Jerusalem for the days of unleavened bread. You saw that in Luke 2:41. And Jesus at age 12, that shows that they kept on going to Jerusalem for the days of unleavened bread, because Jesus was in the temple in Jerusalem. Yes. That would, so John 19:25 proves that Jesus and his family were attending in Jerusalem, in the temple. They were following Deuteronomy 16:16, and Deuteronomy the 16th chapter 16 verse has never been done away with. It's 3 times a year. None of your churches keep 3 feasts. They just keep 1 feast, the Feast of Tabernacles. Well, Deuteronomy 16:16 says 3 times a year. 3 times a year. Not 1 time a year. You see, you're not going to get a white stone. You're going to get thrown into the lake of fire if you don't start obeying God's Bible. Every jot and tittle. Man shall live by every word of God. So we're going to help you understand these things. And because of the world situation, you're going to learn today how Putin of Russia, Vladimir Putin, has stomped out the Rothschild and Rockefeller crime syndicates. Yes. And what's really happening? You see, all the world leaders are Illuminati, including Putin. But it's a card game. You know, it's a bunch of guys playing cards around the table. And sometimes at the card game, one guy shoots another one. Bang! Well, that's what happens. That's what's going to happen with Putin. I was going to write a song in French, you know, that says, Qu'est-ce que c'est votre nom? Je m'appelle Putin. See, it rhymes. Votre nom, Putin. Say it slowly for you. Qu'est-ce que c'est votre nom? That's a question. That means, what is your name? Qu'est-ce que c'est votre nom? Answer. Je m'appelle Putin. It's going to make a great song if they ever get trying for it, because Putin's going to be playing a major role in world... Well, he's already played a major role in Syria. He stopped the overthrow of Syria by backing off Obama, who wanted to go in. Yeah. It's not bad enough that we killed 1.5 million people in Iraq by accident. And that's an admission. It was admitted by George Bush Jr. that Iraq had nothing to do with 9/11. Yet we went in there and killed 1.5 million Iraqis. I wonder why they hate us. I wonder why. We also destroyed the country of Libya. We destroyed another country called Libya. And we destroyed another country called Afghanistan. And we destroyed another country called Vietnam. Well, there's 500 million there. Don't forget, we burned 500,000 people alive in Dresden. I told you that in the last broadcast. There was no reason the war was over. It was finito. Dresden wasn't a military city. Dresden was a hospital city where people went for refuge. We burnt it down to the ground, to cinders. We killed 500,000 people. And you're worried, I'm telling you this, because you're worried about 10 or 20 people getting their heads cut off. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? What are we going to do? 20 people got their heads cut off. Well, I'm sorry they did, but big deal. You're being set up to go in to war again in continual warfare. You're being suckered in again because 20 people got their heads cut off. The point is, the Hegelian dialectic, we, the United States, paid for 20 people to have their heads cut off because we supply the funding through Saudi Arabia, and we provide the support for ISIS. That's right, the United States provides the support for ISIS because the United States wants to overthrow Assad in Syria. So we are assisting ISIS, and ISIS is cutting off people's heads. 20 heads. It's sad, you know. It was done on a beach, and all the blood ran into the water. Here's the point. You're being suckered again to say, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? What are we going to do? We got to go back into war. We got to go back into war. No, you don't. It's none of your business. None of your business what goes on in the Middle East. All you've got to do is worry about your own backyard in the USA. And there are enough problems here in the USA for you to fix without trying to fix other countries' problems. Because there are enough murders here in the United States that having 20 heads cut off pales in comparison by the violence that's going on inside the United States. The point is, you are being set up again for another Middle East war. 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 We, the obedient Church of God, understand exactly what's going on. And we're the only ones that understand of the 10 groups of nations. After the first three and a half years, Putin is going to destroy Ephraim, Manasseh, and Reuben. And for the new listeners out there, Reuben is France, and Manasseh is the British Commonwealth, including, of course, New Zealand and Australia, Great Britain, Ireland. Oh, here's the point. Canada, all will be overthrown. France, the British Commonwealth, and the USA will be overthrown by Putin in 3.5 years. And he's a great chess player. I'm sorry, you know. I know all about him. His name means whore. Putin in French means whore. In fact, it's a swear word. You know. Well, I'm not going to get into swear words, but anyways, you got the point. I'm not even going to get into French swear words. Now, I want you to realize that you need to understand the world situation because the Bible tells you to watch. Now, we're going to help you understand the world situation, and we're going to help you to understand yourself. Yeah. We'll help you to understand yourself because so many people today don't know what kind of job to have, what kind of job to even look for, or what to do. Well, I'll give you some pointers. Just as a primer. 1. What's your name? Write down 1 and write down your name. 2. What do you do? What do you do? So it would be, you know, Josephine does sewing. 3. Who do you do it for? Josephine does sewing for Desi Girl, Inc. 4. What do the people that you sew for want or need? What kind of clothes do you make? What kind of quality do you do in your job? And 5, how do you change people as a result of how you interact with them? Then look it over again and put down your name, Josephine. And this time for 2, what do I love to do? What do I love to do? And for 3, what am I specially qualified to do? And put down, who do I do it for? And what do people need? And how does this change my life? Very important to understand yourself. Very important to understand yourself. So fill that out using that second group of points. That'll help you in your life to understand yourself. There are so many things we're going to tell you about. We got Michael Rood, who's in the hospital now. He's asking for money to pay for a quadruple bypass. Yeah. So he had a stroke. Michael Rood, R-O-O-D. If you don't know about him, Google him. And you shouldn't follow him. It shouldn't have anything to do with him. But the point is, he had a stroke. And a lot of people do look at him because he's such a clown character. He used to dress up in all kinds of garb and costumes. I mean real costumes. I mean, looking like a king. Or some type of a... Well, I'm not going to dish Michael Rood, but I want to tell you that you could realize that you don't want to get involved with him. But this is a big thing because he's making this giant promotion. He needs $150,000 immediately to pay for his heart surgery. Well, why doesn't he, pray to God to heal him? That always seems to work for us. When we pray for certain men or women, they get healed according to God's will. The point is, you have to be living according to God's way if you want the benefits. Now we'll tell you more about the California drought. It's the worst in the last 1,200 years. The worst in the last 1,200 years. With record high temperatures. And you can tell that from the tree ring samples from California's old blue oaks. The old blue oak trees, they show the fluctuations in the rings. And we'll tell you about Netanyahu coming to the USA at the time of the fast of Esther, when Haman was going to kill all the Jews. So Netanyahu, Bibi Netanyahu's coming to the United States at the same time as the fast of Esther. But he's not going to get a very warm welcome. Joe Biden said he's not even going to attend the meeting with Netanyahu. We're not even going to listen to the speech. And the reason I'm giving you all these highlights is because I never get through everything. And at least if I give you the highlights at the beginning, I can give you an overview and overviews before you miss out on all this. Now we had a real problem here on the hill with the temperatures. It went down to 2 degrees. To 2 degrees. It's a record low. A record low. It's never been this cold, and it was really hard to survive for about 4 days, where it even got to the point of having to stay in the car with the heat on full blast. Because with the wind, and with it being 2 above, or you might as well say 0, it was bone chilling. Bone chilling. So it was serious. And yes, I was chopping wood like mad and building the fires like mad and still couldn't keep warm. try to sleep inside, and with the fires on, the indoor temperature was 30 degrees. 30 degrees. Rough week. Rough week. But it's rougher for the insect population, so that means a lot of the insects will have been killed off by this cold. The insects are going to take a big hit, and there won't be any insects for the birds to eat, and the birds will be dying off. And even without the insects, many of the ponds, the fish will die off, because all the ponds have taken a hit with all the little creatures dying off that the fish eat. It's going to be a real rough time. It's going to impact even the wasps and the spiders, and the other animals need to eat those creatures. So this die-off cycle might last for several years when it was so cold this week. So cold. And that has a lot to do with global dimming. Global dimming, whereby 20% of the sunlight is blocked because we've got such global warming, and it's proven by the ice cap melting. You know, the Arctic ice cap is just about melted, but they're dimming the planet 20% in order to bring in the new world order out of chaos and calamity. That's going to be one affecting all the food supply, because California's food supply is shot, and California provides like 60 or 70% of all the fresh vegetables and produce for the United States. With that drought there in California, people won't have any food to sell. California drought is the worst in the last 1,200 years, 1,200 years. So we'll tell you more about that. And like I said, we'll tell you more about attending the Feast of Unleavened Bread. We'll even show you pictures of our little pavilion where we could meet. In fact, in case I run out of time, I'll just show you the picture right now where you could meet. So this is where we had the Feast of Tabernacles. Now we got to get the light on this right. Let's see if we can get the light on this so the camera can pick it up. There you go. So there was the magnificent little pavilion we had for the Feast of Tabernacles. It was wonderful. I have another picture in my hand here. The picture of the accommodations. There's seven blocks of buildings like this. 7 apartment complexes like this. And if you bring it up close, you can see the bear. Look, there's bears all over the place here. You can see the bear there. Watch out for the bears. Yeah, but you'd be staying in one of those 7 apartment complexes. And it's kind of a nice spot. There's a little walkway bridge on the grounds. It's quite pleasant to be there. Here's a swing that's on the grounds. Let's turn it this way. There you go. There's a swing that's on the grounds. It's really set out quite nicely. You know, we got, if you were at the feast, you would have seen, you know, these flowers. These are the feast pictures. So these are the flowers that are, you know, on the grounds. There's flowers all over the place. Just like there's bears all over the place. So here are some more bears cut out of this giant log. They're all sitting there watching the grounds. And they're quite friendly bears. The artist did a magnificent job of them. Yes. So this is where you would be. Here was the outdoor pavilion. And the name of the spot is the Tremont Lodge and Resort. There's a sign, Tremont Lodge and Resort. So we'll tell you about Deuteronomy 16:16 3 times a year. We'll let God work out the details. The least expensive apartment is, like, with tax, $72 a night. The nicest ones with a fireplace and a jacuzzi are $125 a night. Your call. And this time we are not going to be providing free accommodations for anyone at the Tremont Lodge and Resort, because it didn't work out too well last time. Didn't work out at all. So therefore, you're responsible for your own accommodations. And we'll look after you, we'll protect you and guide you. But you're going to have to pay for your own room. So, are you going to follow God's Bible, Deuteronomy 16:16, 3 times a year? Or are you going to follow the lying minister that only says 1 time a year? You know, you're actually commanded to mark people that are disobeying Deuteronomy 16, that are disobeying God's Bible. You're actually commanded to mark them in Romans 16:17. Are you going to mark your minister who doesn't follow God's Bible? So clear for Deuteronomy 16:16. Well, we want you to have the knowledge of God's Bible. That's why God raised up the obedient Church of God, for us to tell you about Deuteronomy 16:16, and tell you that Yeshua's parents traveled to headquarters at Jerusalem for the days of unleavened bread in Luke 2:41. And Jesus was in the temple when he was at age 12. You know, John 19:25. It's proven that their manner of life was to attend headquarters. We, the obedient Church of God, direct you in the paths of righteousness. Your ministers lie when they say they obey this Bible, because they don't obey Deuteronomy 16:16, which is coming up. And you're going to have the courage to mark your minister. And I've marked ministers before. Has to be done. It has to be done. If they refuse to follow God's Bible, they have to be marked. In fact, you're commanded to leave your minister. 2 Thessalonians 3:16. You are commanded to leave your minister. And if you don't leave your minister, then you have chosen your minister's ways over God's ways. That means you don't love God, you love your minister more, because you do what your minister says instead of doing what God says. God says 3 times a year, 3 times a year, 3 times a year. And 2 Thessalonians 3:16, you know, they're supposed to have peace. And you go to verse 14, people who don't attend 3 times a year are causing the problem, because they're not following this book. And you go to verse 14, if anyone doesn't obey this book, and remember, this was written after Yeshua had been crucified. And it says, if anyone does not obey our word in this epistle, note that person and do not keep company with them. Do not keep company with your minister, because he doesn't obey this book. He's not here on the new moons. Ezekiel 46:3. You know, he's not here on the 3 feasts. You know, he'll claim to support Jesus, but he'll do the opposite of what Jesus did. See, Hosea 4:6 says, you're destroyed for lack of knowledge. And then, when I give you the knowledge, you don't want to bring forth the fruit worthy of repentance. The fruit that you're supposed to bring forth is repentance. And I've told you, truth identifies the Philadelphia church, not numbers, not membership. So ask Jesus, ask John 33:15. You know, he who walks uprightly, who shall abide? One who walks without blemish. You know, Psalm 15:2. He will dwell on high. Not your disobedient minister. Your disobedient minister is causing a lie. He's causing a lie. And you go to the end of the book, Revelation 21, and you will see in verse 27 that you members won't enter, and your minister won't enter. It says so in Revelation 21:27. There shall by no means enter anything that ... causes a lie. Causes a lie and says that there's only one feast a year. No, it doesn't. The Bible says there are 3. I think we better read it for you since it's coming up. Deuteronomy 16:16. 3 times a year all your males shall appear before the Lord your God in the place which he chooses. At the Feast of Unleavened Bread, that's what's coming up. At the Feast of Weeks, that's Pentecost, and the Feast of Tabernacles. Here's the point. These are pilgrimage feasts. The Feast of Tabernacles is a pilgrimage feast. So is the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So is Pentecost, the Feast of Weeks. And if your minister says, oh, we have services, he's a damn liar, because this is supposed to be a feast. And then he'll lie his way out of it and say, oh, but we have services. Well, you have services every Saturday, and it's not a feast. This is a pilgrimage feast. This is a special time in the place where God chooses. Headquarters. The same place Mary and Joseph went to a headquarters. It's that simple. Now, if you don't have the money to attend, and if you don't have the money for the hotel rooms, you know, you're going to be there, you know, 8 days, 7 days for the Feast of Unleavened Bread for sure, and it's running at $72 a night. It's $720. Well, you're going to have 10 days, because you're going to you can't, you know, leave in the middle of the morning and then be staying in your car. So you need at least $1,000 in order to pay Well, let's figure it out this way. 10 days would be $720 right there. Then your meals at 20 bucks a day, because you want to eat well. It's a feast. Times 7 days, so that's another 140 bucks per person. So that's 280. So 720 and 280. You're up to 1,000 already. You haven't even started counting your gas. Yeah, your gas, or your traveling to and from expenses. So I'm saying this so that you don't feel guilty if you don't show up, because so many people didn't show up for the Feast of Tabernacles. So let's just get it straight. If you don't have the funds, you can't go. It's that simple. You have to stay home. There's no other way. Didn't work out when we financed it, so now we're taking the other approach. So you can have your feast, and like when you take the Passover especially, that's always done in the homes. It's not done in public. You don't make a public display of it. It's done in the homes. Small groups. So that's on the night of the 14th. So now you can prepare yourself to be taking the Passover at home and taking the Feast of Tabernacles at home. So one thing at a time. You'll have to wait for the world tomorrow when you have the capacity to be permanently employed and have a permanent income. Do you know that the real unemployment rate in the United States now is 34%? 34% when you count the people who don't have a job and are of working age. See, the way the system is rigged, they just count the people who have registered to look for a job. Well, people have given up looking for a job. So, the real unemployment rate is worse than the Depression. It's worse than the Depression. 34% unemployment. So naturally I don't expect anyone to be able, to come up to the Feast of Tabernacles because no one has any money. No one has any jobs. So what can we do? And the misery index, the misery index is actually the worst in 40 years. We'll tell you about the misery index. It's important for you to know, because if you look, we're well over the worst cases. We're worse than the worst, okay? You got a graph here that shows the stagflation years and the charts of what it is today, and the misery index. They're worried about it leading to social revolution. Show you the chart. That's the beauty of having a camera. See the ends of the charts where it's up at the highest? That's this year. Yeah. Or I should say the year before. Yeah. Misery index. The highest ever in 40 years. You might say, what in the world is the misery index, eh? Well, in the Great Depression, it was 27. It was 27 was the misery index rate. And it's actually worse today. Because on the graph, it's hitting 35%. 35. And in the Depression, the Great Depression, it was 27. Well, they've got actual figures, 32.89. Close enough. But it's worse today than it was in the Great Depression. So we'll be telling you about the misery index today too, if there's time, because it's more involved than just what we've said there. So we try to make the broadcast very enlightening for you. Very enlightening for you. So that you can watch as the Bible commands you to watch. In the conclusion about the misery index, you know, it's only provided to certain clients. It's a secret. It's basically a secret. And the White House and the Federal Reserve and the Treasury Department don't want you to know about the misery index, because their own figures are a fraud. Their own figures are a fraud. They have the misery index at 14. But it's at, for the people not working, it's like 38%. I've got another figure here of 37.2. Not the 6.7% unemployment. That's what the Fed advertises. Those are people looking for work. Doesn't count all the people that don't have work and have stopped looking. So it's a fraud. So they don't want you to know these things that I'm telling you about, such as the misery index, which it's bare note. When I say bare note, it's a calculation based on inflation and unemployments. Based on two things: inflation and unemployment. And the index doesn't even calculate how the economy is being propped up. There's all kinds of tricks that are used to deceive you. But here, on the Obedient Church of God, you're getting the truth. So we're giving you the truth. And it's a sad, sad situation. Most people don't never even heard of the misery index. Well, these are fierce times. 2 Timothy 3, fierce times. So we'll put that away. And because this is a new month day, some of you might know what that means. It says, blow on the trumpet, sound the drum on your solemn feast day. So this is a double header today. It's a Sabbath day and it's a feast day. So, where it says, you shall blow on the trumpet, and we'll be singing that, and that's Psalm 81, for those of you who'd like to know. On your solemn feast day to blow on the trumpet. So sit back and relax and listen to the most magnificent trumpet in the whole world. It's not a trumpet, it's a shofar. It's a ram's horn, and it's about nearly 5 feet long, and it's got a bell on the end of it, like a bell. It just opens up in the shape. It opens up to, looks like 5-inch diameter. It's magnificent. And guess what? This has got nearly 500,000 hits. So I don't know how many first century Christians are out there, or how many Jews are out there, but somebody has hit it, clicked on it, like 473,000 times. And we're going to bring it to the fore right now, so you sit back and enjoy on your solemn feast day, on God's new month day of Ezekiel 46:3, that we always keep, whether it's a Sabbath or whether it's a weekday, because you shouldn't be working on new month day. And here is Shofar Prophetico, so we follow the command to blow on the trumpet, Psalm 81. And you You can't find a more magnificent one than this one. So we're going to refresh it, and you can hear a real ram's horn. And it's important for you to understand that every community in the world tomorrow will be attending on these days, will be, because in Isaiah 66 it mentions that. Let's see if I can find it for you. Talking about the end time. Alright. 66:23, verse 23. And it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another, ... all flesh shall come to worship before me, says the Lord. So you in the world tomorrow will be keeping New Month Day, whether you say so or not, or whether your lying devil minister says so or not. And he's a devil minister because he doesn't keep New Month Day. And Yeshua said you're supposed to live by every word of God, which was the Septuagint, which was the Old Testament. You're supposed to live by every word of God. Your minister says, no you don't. Your minister says the opposite of Yeshua. Yeshua says live by every word of God, live by Deuteronomy 16:16, 3 feasts a year. Live by Ezekiel 46:3, you shall worship on New Moon Day, says Yeshua. Your minister says, no, don't. Yeah, well, your minister is going to be thrown in the lake of fire, because Revelation 21:26. And I showed it to you. Let's drive it home again. That's why we keep doing these broadcasts, till you finally get it through your head. You're going to have to leave your lying ministers, because your Bible commands you to leave them and to mark them. Verse 27 of Revelation 21, there shall be by no means enter in any member, anything, that means any member, any minister that causes a lie will not enter into the kingdom. And if your minister says that you don't have to keep New Month Day, he is a liar, and he's causing a lie, and he won't enter the kingdom, and neither will you. Because it says in Revelation 22, in the next chapter, of verse 15, outside are ... whoever practices a lie. And you are practicing the lie of your minister of not having New Month Day. And that's a lie for your minister to tell you not to have New Month Day. That's a lie. Because your Bible tells you to have New Month Day. In Isaiah 66, what is it, verse 23 or somewhere around there, says that all shall keep New Month Day. So let's follow the next command and have shofar prophetico, the most magnificent shofar in the world, following the command of Psalm 81. Blow on the trumpet on your solemn feast day. Call to assembly. Alarms of war, war, war. Call to assembly. Assemble, assemble, assemble. War, 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 war. on your solemn feast day. So we have fulfilled that command. Now all please rise and enter the throne room, because we're going to sing some praises to God, our Father, and Yeshua at his right-hand side. So face the north heavens, where Yeshua and Father are. Bow your head in humility. Close your eyes in sincerity. Almighty, most merciful Father El Shaddai, thank you for your new month day. Thank you for it falling even on the Sabbath day. It's a double high day then. Thank you for teaching the obedient Church of God these things as we keep your new month day even on weekdays when it falls on a weekday. Thank you for the knowledge of Deuteronomy 16:16. Help the people to have the money to attend the Feast of Unleavened Bread. But as times are hard, have mercy on them, because they cannot pay for the room accommodations, nor can they pay for the traveling expenses. In these times of 34 to 37% total unemployment, it's unbelievable, Father. Father, be with your people all over the world, especially our brethren in Pakistan, 200 plus of them, of the Obedient Church of God, Pakistan, and continue to protect them, as 8 of them were murdered 7 years ago by a mob of 1,000, and when they've been with us, they're so far okay, so we keep praying for them. Help our friends and associates, especially those who are dealing with cancers, to heal them. Count on you and your divine providence and your divine plan. And we know that you do have a plan, because even with Richard Armstrong, if he wasn't taken out of the way, he would have kicked Garner's head right out of there, and then we wouldn't have had the change in eras. So all of this all fits together, Father. Be with the obedient Church of God and help us do this end-time work of restoring all things. Strengthen the obedient Church of God and strengthen its members, and give grace and forgiveness to the members that can't attend this feast of unleavened bread because of financial insecurity. Now, Father, we want you to bless the brethren in Pakistan, especially with their new sewing venture, so at least they can feed themselves, because things are going to get worse. So we've got Desi Girl sewing instruction and garments set up, so please bless that. Bless the Desi Girl Inc. Corporation. Now, Father, our main focus is on you and righteousness, so help us get the messages out that we need to get out so that we can lead the people to righteousness, and help us to reinforce to them that their ministers are all lying devils, because the ministers are not following your Bible. So they are liars when they say they are, and they can't read properly. They can't read Ezekiel 46:3 properly. So all we can do is say, let this be a witness against them. So now we turn this service over to your hands, and we ask that all in Yeshua HaMashiach's holy righteous name, our soon coming King of the world. Amen. Yes, indeed. We've got a coming King of the world. And after Obama's finished, Putin will take over. He'll be King of the world. He'll rip up the 3 ribs. But we're in the throne room now, so we're not going to explain anything more to you. But what we are going to want to do is praise the Eternal with a psalm. And that's important, because it is our solemn feast day. So turn your hymnals, and here's our original hymnal, which you don't have, but we do have a hymnal. Here it is, by the Obedient Church of God, using the 1934 words from the little schoolhouse. Camera 1, camera 2, and providentially I got the last copy of the tinier song book that had the original words at 6 inches by only 5 inches by 7 inches. A little brown song book. And I got the last copy in the world from 1934, and I secured that copy in 2004. So that copy was waiting for me for 70 years. I'm not kidding. That copy waited for me for 70 years from 1934 for me to show up in Eugene and to request it and to get it to have it given to me as a last copy by the people who are holding it. So that's what we have our song book based on. The original words, which from our succinct. But we don't have the original words because you're going to have to get them off the internet. So let's use the worldwide revised words. Praise the Eternal with a psalm. It's page number 62 on your solemn feast day. Now sing out. This is your rightful sacrifice, the fruit of your lips. So be sure to sing out, and if you don't have the song book, Google it and you'll find it, or follow along with the words. At least sing the first words. Praise the Eternal with a psalm. Sing to the God of Jacob. You can remember that, and at least sing that. See, nothing has changed since the disobedient Israelites, but Israel would not heed God, and today your ministers will not heed God. Your ministers will not heed Ezekiel 46:3. They will refuse to have services on New Month day. And New Month Day doesn't always fall on a Sabbath day. And yet, they say they're the ministers of God when they disobey God. They take the place of God by changing God's words. What can you do?
It's unfortunate, but
God had to raise up the end time work.
now one of our phone lines just fell off, dropped.
The tone. Please enter your conference call code followed by the pound.
We'll put it in. And we're back online.
It's important for us to keep track so that the members that are on the phone hookup can have a magnificent new moon day, which is a Sabbath day. How lovely are thy dwellings. How lovely is your new month day. Because that helps set the tone of obedience. So turn to page number 65 and let's sing together, How lovely are thy dwellings. And you're singing to your Father, my soul is longing, fainting for thee, O living God. You see, this is the sacrifice of your lips. Now, if your children came singing a song to you and said to you, Mom, Dad, your children are saying to you, my soul is longing, fainting for thee. Well, if your children sang that to you, that they are longing for you, they are feeling faint for you, they love you so much, well, your heart would turn to them. Yes. So Father's heart will turn to you if you sing this song. So sing out and tell him that your heart is, and mean it, fainting for him. Your soul is longing for him. Sing out. It's your sacrifice, the fruit of your lips. Yes, the bird has found its home. I hope you found your home. with the obedient church of God. But there's so few of you. So few of you. And the others, they just won't follow God's Bible. You know, we don't even care if you followed or in the obedient church of God, as long as you followed God's Bible. But where are you going to find someone to follow God's Bible if it's not the obedient church of God? Because every minister, including every Jew, even the ultra-Orthodox, follows a phony international dateline, which Satan tricked them all and moved the Sabbath day to Friday in half the world, in the Philippines and Australia and New Zealand and in China 1.2 billion people, and India 1.1 billion people, all the way to Pakistan, all moved it God's Sabbath day to Friday. Well, we moved it back. And any minister who says we didn't restore anything is a damn liar, because we restored it for over 200 people with our associates in the Philippines, associates in Australia, congregation 200 plus in Pakistan. We have restored it. Period. We are the Romans 9:28 work. And the Philadelphia church is determined by the truth it has, not by the number of people, because Yeshua only had 120 people and he had all the truth. But out of the 5,000 and out of the 3,000, only 120 were faithful. So now that we sang, "How lovely are thy dwellings," let's sing "Rise and Judge, Eternal One." Yes. Turn to page number 64. Because this is what we're doing. And we're supposed to judge. God's Bible commands you to judge, but
God's Bible commands you to mark those that are not in accord with the doctrines of the Bible. So, are you going to mark?
Are you going to mark your minister? He's not in accord with New Month Day. Are you going to mark him? What's it going to take you for you to mark him? Okay? How many sins, and you're following him, which is a sin, how many sins do you have to have heaped on your head before you mark him? And you don't have to join the obedient church of God. You just have to start obeying God. Find another church that follows all of these tenets, like the obedient church of God does. If you can find another church, follow it. Follow it. You can find another church, follow it. But you can't. Because every church in the world moves God's Sabbath day to Friday. And that's a big one. Because that's the test commandment. And if you fail the test commandment, you're into the lake of fire for sure. Because that's the mark of the beast. The Sabbath day is the mark of the beast. It's a Sunday law. And having it on Friday means you're not having the Sabbath on the 7th day, you're having it on the 6th day. And if you have the Sabbath on Sunday, you're having it on the 1st day instead of the 7th day. So here you're changing the 7th day to the 6th day, and the poop, Mr. Fishhead, is changing the 7th day to the 1st day. There's no difference. And you're supporting and paying money to ministers who move God's Sabbath day to Friday in half the world, and you think that's just fine. Well, you might as well pay your money to the poop. Can't deny it. The Pope is moving the Sabbath day a day, and your minister is moving the Sabbath day a day. And you won't mark him. And you won't mark him. Why won't you? He's not in accord with God's Bible. He's not in accord with God's Bible. So you're going to respect the wicked's cause? And you're going to blame the righteous Church of God? Let's sing hymn number 64. Rise and judge, Eternal One. Psalm 82. It's important for you to sing it. There are words in here, because it has to be said about judging. So let's sing about judging. Rise and judge. Ask God to judge the disobedient members. You just might end up by singing this, asking God to judge you, because you support ministers who move the Sabbath day to Friday. You support ministers who refuse to have New Month Day. Rise and judge, Eternal One, or else you can't sing this song. You can't, because he'll judge you.
In the midst of magistrates, God his judgment gives. They see us along the view of the sun justly judged. To respect the witness's cause and the righteous blame, judge the poor and fatherless, judge them righteously. Earth's foundations have been moved, all in darkness walk. Judges of the earth of God, no will understand this. God has said they are like gods, sons of God Most High. But they all shall die like men, and as princes fell. Keep not silence, O my God, your foes not their schemes, that the name of Israel may be blotted out. Put them all to shame, O God, as they hurt themselves. Rise and judge, Eternal One, for the earth is yours.
Rise and judge.
Let men know that you, O Lord, the Eternal One, are most high o'er all the earth. Let men know your name. They know not nor understand. They shall die like men. Rise and judge, Eternal One, for the earth is yours.
Oh, please be seated. So you called on God to rise and judge. And not to respect the wicked minister's cause. And any minister who changes God's Sabbath day to Friday is wicked. He's a wicked minister. That's a fact. Are you going to side with a wicked minister, with Satan, or are you going to side with God? You know, I told you, you're commanded to mark. Leave your sinister. Romans 16, 17. You're commanded to leave them. Are you going to leave them? Or are you just going to keep on keeping on and think everything's going to be fine? Well, it's not going to be fine. It's not going to be fine because this world is falling apart and because you are going to be caught in the middle of it. It's a serious situation. And the police are getting more and more violent. In Boynton Beach, B-O-Y-N-T-O-N Beach, a sheriff is instructing citizens to run over protesters. That's right. A sheriff is instructing people, citizens, to run over protesters. I'm not making this up. On January 14th, 2015, Sheriff Rick Bradshaw of the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office was speaking to a crowd, and he was complaining about protesters who are protesting to bring attention to the police killing people in America. You know, there have been protests all over the United States. So one of the women listening to this speech by this rogue sheriff, well, he isn't rogue, that's generally the way it goes. The sheriff instructing citizens to run over protesters. A woman asked a question, what to do if a driver can't back up due to traffic in the area? And Sheriff Bradshaw said, the driver should step on the gas pedal and run over the protesters. I'm not making this up. I'm not. You can Google it. Sheriff Bradshaw said the driver should step on the gas pedal and kill the protesters. Run over them. Because the protesters are protesting against the police who kill over 400 people a year on record. And those are only the records that are reported to the FBI, so the real figures are like over 1,000 citizens are murdered by the police, like the man who was shot dead because he had a spoon in his hand. That's right, shot dead for holding a spoon up. Or another man who's walking down the street, whittling, W-H-I-T-T-L-I-N-G, whittling, minding his own business, whittling. The cop came up behind him, screaming, put down the knife, put down the knife, put down the knife, and the man's whittling. Then the cop shot him dead. Or the other man who had a knife, and he was, took sort of 10, 15 feet away from the police, and they shot him dead. He was no threat. They could have tasered him. You know, he's got a knife, so big deal. He's 15 feet away, so you shoot somebody dead from 15 feet away. These are facts. So look, you're dealing with evil people. You've got sheriffs instructing people to run over protesters. You've got ministers instructing people to disobey God. That's right, you've got ministers instructing you to disobey God's Bible. And watch out, the police don't protect you from anything. Police do not protect. They show up 20 minutes after you've been beaten up. Or if you've been broken into, they might show up 2 days later if they show up at all. It's a fallacy that the police protect you. They don't protect anything. In fact, they're under no obligation to protect anybody. It's a lie. Because they never show up. Oh, they'll show up after the crime, but when the crime's in progress, You know, you have a school shooting, the cops don't go in. They don't go after the shooter because they're worried about themselves. So, what did they do at Columbine? You know, they surrounded the building, you know, for what, 2 hours or something. They never went in. You got a cop who's doing his job, he goes in and he kills the shooter. But no, not today's cops. No, they're all duded up in all of their body armor, and they kill the peaceful people. But you don't see them taking on the Mexican drug cartels, do you? You don't see them taking on the biker gangs. You only see them taking on the private citizen. Well, what's happened today is people are using cameras in their phones to videotape the cops. And I suggest if you ever get stopped that you do the same. Because I've got the statistic here from California where people started videotaping the cops, and there was a 60% decrease, a 60% decrease in cop violence once the people started videotaping the cops in one California city. You know, people, the cops are your enemies. They're the terrorists. They don't have any value for your life. They treat you like trash. And you can see it on YouTube. They'll pull people, they'll lie. First they'll lie and they'll say you didn't make a complete stop at the stop sign. And then it'll end up that they'll open your car door, pull you out of the car, and handcuff you. All because you didn't answer all their questions. Well, you don't have to answer all their questions. If they're going to give you a ticket, give me the ticket and be gone. They are energy vampires. Cops are energy vampires. They're sucking up the energy of others by kowtowing people all day, demeaning people all day. They're living off of other people's bodies. They're energy vampires. Just start Googling on YouTube police abuse, and you'll see the actual situations. So I don't want any of you members calling up the police for the obedient Church of God's safety. Because if you do call up the police, you are actually bringing trouble on the obedient Church of God. Because we count on God the Father and the angels for our safety. Point is, don't let anyone make you feel inferior. You're a child of God. And the cops are just citizens, the same as you are. And you're worthy of their respect. And instead, they're kowtowing you, and you are not a victim. And the Constitution is in charge, not you, not the cops. When I say you, I'm talking about the cops. So they almost said that to one cop, saying the Constitution is in charge, here, not you. Goes on, you know, like statements that I make. I'm not a victim. I don't absorb your energy. You see, no one has the power psychologically over you unless you give them the power. You know, you might get roughed up, shot or killed, but you have no fear because God the Father is in charge. Now, you don't do anything stupid, but I do not give the police power over me. I am a child of God. I am a free man, and I won't get into that. But I have a vision that this is like Nazi Germany. And you can't be living in fear, especially with fear of the police. You know, it's not a crime for you not to answer questions. It's very simple. I refuse to answer. You have the right to remain silent. Now, they might lock you up for 48 hours. But they can't lock up everybody in the country for 48 hours all day long just because they refuse to answer questions. You can always say, I'll be happy to answer your questions in the presence of counsel, because anything you say can and will be used against you. So if a cop says to you, you know, that you were speeding, I don't answer questions. I'll be happy to answer all your questions in presence of counsel. It's that simple. The point is, we've got the sheriff's department's completely out of control with this one sheriff in Boynton Beach instructing citizens to run over protesters who are protesting the police murders of citizens. I don't want to spend any more time on this because I've got to tell you about Netanyahu. And Netanyahu's coming to town. Almost one of these times was going to sing the NDAA is coming to town. Yeah, you better not pout. You better not shout. You better not protest. You better not cry. You better not talk about it. You better not whine. I'm telling you why. Because the National Defense Authorization Act is coming to town. And they know when you've been sleeping because the smart meter on your house. And they know when you're awake because the smart meter on your house is recording when you turn the coffee pot on in the morning. The smart meter is recording when you turn your lights off at night. They know when you've been sleeping. They know when you're awake. Well, they know when you've been bad or good, because they're watching you all day long on cameras. All the new televisions have a microphone in them that can be turned on or off. Windows 8.1 can be turned on or off remotely by Microsoft. The microphone on your computer can be turned on or off by National Defense. The camera on your computer can be turned on or off by National Defense. We're living in Orwell's 1984. Well, the NDAA Act has come to town. That's right, the NDAA Act has come to town. They know when you've been sleeping with your smart meter, with their smart meter. They know when you're awake, when you turn your coffee pot on. They know if you've been bad or good, because they can hear every word through the microphone on your computer. You better not complain. You better not shout. You better not pout. Don't you complain, or the police will say to the other citizens, drive them over, run them down, kill the protesters. Well, the answer is more openness, not less openness. So I'm saying this to you so that you can realize that we are in the worst times already. We are in the worst times. Now, who else is coming to town, I started saying? Well, Benjamin Netanyahu is planning to address Congress on March the 3rd. Here's what Netanyahu said. Here's the online report. Israeli Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said on Monday that he still intends to address the USA Congress on the Iran nuclear deal. Let me tell you about this. Saudi Arabia is really, really mad at the United States now, because the United States is making Iran, I-R-A-N, the big boy on the block, and is dishing Saudi Arabia. Yeah. So that's not going to bode very well for the American army or the American soldiers or anything to do with America to get the Saudis' hackles up. But back to Netanyahu. This is a quote from Netanyahu talking about the Iran deal. Iran nuclear deal that he, Netanyahu, is going to address the U.S. Congress on. Quote, said Netanyahu, "This is not a political issue or a party issue, neither here nor there. This is not a political issue or a party issue, neither here nor there." What does that mean? It means that ongoing negotiations between the Obama administration and Iran are not in Israel's national interest. Quote from Netanyahu, "While some are busy with protocols or politics, a bad deal with Iran is taking shape," said Netanyahu. So Netanyahu's comments come after a week of dramatic headlines chronicling his dispute, Netanyahu's dispute with the Obama White House, with many Democrats in Congress finding themselves forced to take sides. The Prime Minister's address is scheduled to take place on March 3rd, but the White House has begged off meeting with Netanyahu when he's in Washington. Isn't that amazing? The White House, the government officials themselves, won't meet with Netanyahu while he's in Washington, citing a policy of avoiding summits with foreign leaders ahead of their elections. Well, Netanyahu, sidebar, Netanyahu is up for re-election on March the 17th. So he's visiting the USA on March the 3rd. Well, in conclusion, Vice President Joe Biden announced that he will not attend the speech of Netanyahu. And Senator Bernie Sanders said that he won't attend the speech of Netanyahu, in Congress. So they're both going to opt out of Congress. Well, it says, from the day Israel was established to this day, there have been essential differences between Israel and the U.S., and relations remain sound. This will be the case this time as well. That's what Netanyahu said. Well, I got news for him. No, it won't. Because the Bible says, all nations will be against Israel. All nations will be against Israel. We're running out of time here again. Let's tell you a little bit about Putin. If this affects you, you've got to know these things. I'll cut to the chase here. I'm going to go with Putin, what he's done since the year 2000. Remember that the Soviet Union in the year 2000 was in really, really, really bad shape.
It was a horrible situation. Let's see if I find it on the computer here to tell you about it.
When Putin was elected president of Russia in 2000, Russia was bankrupt. The nation owed $16.6 billion to the Rothschild-run International Monetary Fund, while its foreign debt to the Rothschild-controlled Paris and London Club of Creditors was over $36 billion. Well, here's what happened. Putin took advantage of the boom in world oil prices starting in 2000, and he redirected the oil profits of Russia's largest oil producer, Gazprom, Gazprom, so as to pay off the debt to the Rothschilds. And the continual surge in oil prices after the year 2000 greatly accelerated Russia's capacity to restore financial sovereignty. In short here, by the year 2006, Putin had paid off Russia's debt to the Rothschilds. Russia's financial dependence on the mafia financiers was now over. Putin could then establish what became his Russian Unity Party's campaign slogan. Here's the slogan. Putin's plan means victory for Russia. This slogan continues to make the New World Order of the criminal banksters very, very nervous. And it's not only Putin who's opposed the criminal bankers. Iceland has dismantled the corrupt banksters. Actually, Iceland has arrested 10 Rothschild bankers. See, if you go over the names here, and you can see they're around the world. These corrupt banksters are controlling the world. So Iceland dismantled the corrupt 10 Rothschild bankers. And actually, Iceland issued Interpol arrest warrants for Rothschild banker Sigurdu, S-I-G-U-R-D-U, Einarsson, E-I-N-A-R-S-O-N, who's now hiding in the United Kingdom. See, what's happening here is certain countries are waking up to the New World Order, and at this card game that's going on, they're all Illuminati. Putin's Illuminati. Obama's Illuminati. You know, Sarkozy of France is Illuminati. Harper of Canada is Illuminati. All the leaders are Illuminati. But they shoot each other at the card game in order to get more chips. And that's what's happening. So we're going to look to Russia to play its chess game and bring in the New World Order. But there's going to be some wars. There's going to be some fights at the card table. But the game's going to go on until after 3.5 years of the 7 years, Putin rips out 3 ribs of the 10 groups of nations. So Putin will rip out Reuben, France. He'll rip out the USA, and he'll rip out British Commonwealth, including Australia and New Zealand. I'm telling you this so that you can watch and know about Putin, and to know what's going on, and to know that they're all Illuminati, but they are all criminals at a criminal card game. And they're killers. They're killers, just like the United States is a killer who murdered 1.5 million innocent Iraqis who had nothing to do with 9/11. But there 1.5 million of them are dead. And Libya, destroyed. And Afghanistan, destroyed. Vietnam, destroyed. I want you to understand that this is the devil's system. Oh, and we didn't even get a chance for us to tell you about... We're out of time. We're over time already. Unbelievable. Oh, I wanted to tell you about the critters. Let's call them the critters, the offshoots of the Nephilim. The Homo capensis. We'll have to tell you next week about the Homo capensis. Got a whole folder on them here. They are the offspring of the fallen angels. They're on this earth. They're like another species, and they're guiding people. But there are 57 different types of aliens.
And like Valiant Thor is one of the nicer groups of aliens. But here is the actual... There are 57 groups. That's why there's 57 varieties of Heinz tomato ketchup. Because, believe it or not, you're not going to believe it, but the demons invented the formula for Heinz tomato ketchup, and that's why it has 57 on it. I'm going to show you a picture of a Homo capensis so you can know what they look like. They don't look anything like Valiant Thor. Look at his head. Remember that the popes have these mitres on, these giant hats? That's to hide the heads. That's to hide the heads. So that's what a Homo capensis critter looks like. But there's 57 different varieties, just like we've got
Midgets, which politically correct is little people. Then we got, 7-foot basketball players. But there is another species of humans that they impersonate humans that are walking around like us, because the demons, with their experiments, have finally got the size right and the looks right. That's why you had fairies before, little 18-inch high people. And then you had 36-foot giants, and there's actual skulls and actual bodies of 36-foot creatures in existence. But they've been hidden from you, and they're always destroyed. But if you Google it, you'll find that. But this is what we're dealing with, who's running the Illuminati. The real leaders are the fallen angels. And the Bible says
that we wrestle not against flesh and blood. We wrestle against principalities, wickedness in high places. So let's find the scripture for you. We wrestle not against flesh and blood.
Here we go. Ephesians 6:12. And I'm telling you this so that you know that there's no hope for you till Yeshua comes back, till Yeshua returns. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Spiritual wickedness in high places, like the Prince of Persia. Yes. So, the obedient Church of God gives you the insight. And that's the sermon for today.
Well, now for our closing hymn.
Time goes so quickly.
But we are fulfilling our calling to restore all things. Whether you say so or not, there isn't any other congregation in the world that has restored the Sabbath day. So we trust in God and we pray to Him for us, for Him to save us.
We stand in awe. Let's turn to page number 3. This being New Month Day. And let's sing in praise to God. Trust that we trust. We're actually telling Him, it's not just a song going out for no reason. It's trust in God and stand in awe. So I want you to sing out, hear and answer when I call, because you're asking God to hear you and to answer you for this coming week. So please, do yourself a favor and sing to your Father. And say, falsehood they seek. Your ministers seek falsehood. They don't seek New Month Day. Ezekiel 46:3. For the closing prayer, all please remain standing, arms raised in worship, head bowed in humility, eyes closed in sincerity. O righteous God, we come before your throne at the close of this service to thank you for the information you give to the obedient Church of God so that we can be in your calling. So the more information you give us, the harder we'll try to be obedient to your calling. We want to be in accord with your Bible, and so far everything you've given us we followed. So please continue to pour out your Spirit on the obedient Church of God. The Spirit is given to those who obey. Thank you for the information you've given us for this broadcast on the Homo Capendus. It's amazing, other creatures. Thank you for giving us the information that it's not aliens, it's demons impersonating aliens that'll try to trick the world, and help us to be aware of all these things. We know more than any of the other congregations. We can say that by the facts. But if it were possible, even the elect would be deceived. Even the elect would be deceived. So we pray for your Holy Spirit to guide us through these terrible end times. Father, again, look after our congregation in Pakistan. And thank you for keeping them safe for all these years now. We look forward to you keeping them and us safe, and especially keep us safe from the county sheriffs who are really rough and tough in this part of the country, and from the highway patrol, which are all over the place, trying to take people's money and trying to control everybody and put their thumb on everybody. Can't even turn sideways, there's so many cops out here. Keep us safe from harm and out of the clutches and machinations of Satan for another week. And thank you for your new month day, doubleheader today. Thank you for all good things you've done for us. Thank you for getting us through the cold, cold, to above near zero weather, that we're still alive and we don't have a cold and we didn't get sick for being cold and chilled to the bone all those days. Sleeping at 30 degrees was no picnic, but we toughed it out for you, Father. And maybe that's a good lesson, that we know what to do for the end time when we won't be able to buy or sell fuel. Thank you for all the lessons. Thank you for the trials, because that helps us to grow. So now, Father, we ask for your dismissal and ask for your protection for the coming week on all members of the Obedient Church of God. We ask it through Yeshua's holy righteous name, our soon arriving King of the world. Amen. Yes, indeed. So, therefore, to close out the service, we will praise the Eternal. Here are the words. Tune in next week. And you can see this broadcast if you click on the worldtomorrow.org videos. Or if you click on YouTube and put in the words, The Obedient Church of God, and all of our videos will come up, including this one, once it's put up later this evening. So, Happy New Month Day. Maranatha.